excuse me, I have probably now just knackered the tyres. But it is weird that, because it's pad users that have said to me, just do a couple of donuts, that warms your tyres up. Well, I've just done it on a wheel and they're still blue. Now it could just be this particular car doesn't do it. Or maybe I've just found out something that a wheel user can't do that a pad user can. But let's not start that argument. Okay, so while the tyres are cold, I'm not really going to try and push it too much, because it's pretty much guaranteed to spin out if I do. It is interesting though that already the car does feel like it's got more grip here than it's had in time trial. I was able to go aggressively down the gears, so perhaps it's just in the time trial then that this particular car is horrible under the brakes and on the aggressive downshifts. Not a bad drift, it wasn't intentional. When I went down to first, it just kicked out. Just need those front tyres to get up to temperature now. We can really try pushing the car. It definitely does feel like it's got more grip than I had at Donington in the time trial though. It's gone down to second and it has kicked the rear out. Oh, tried to push it around the corner on the throttle. It didn't like it. It's not as bad in the braking zones as I expected it to be, although I am getting a little bit of sideways action under the brakes. Big kick of oversteer then. I mean, the rear is wobbling a bit when I knock it down 2 seconds. Ooh, it didn't like that change of direction. It does make me wonder whether they've, perhaps for time trial, put some not very good setups on the car just to make it a little bit harder. I suppose a more direct comparison would have been to go and do a free practice around Donington, but most of my videos are of me going around Donington. I am trying to really push it in the braking zones, not push it over the limit. It was alright going down to second, but it didn't like first. It's definitely still very wobbly. I mean, on the throttle, especially this corner, on the brakes and the rear stepping out, in the traction zones, the rear is trying to step out a lot. So I do think that elongating first and second is probably going to help here. More than likely, mainly in the traction zone. I mean, I'm braking very early for this first turn. I need to try and push it further into there and be very aggressive on those downshifts to see what happens. Okay, the car is handling better than it was in time trial, but I still haven't got that sort of full confidence in the car. Every time into this hairpin, the rear end is stepping out, and that was the first time I went down to second gear for that corner. Usually the Schumacher S's would be flat out in most cars. I appreciate this isn't a race car, it is a road car. Interesting. On all the other laps I went up to 6th gear along that straight. Didn't really have a problem in the braking zone. This time I stayed in 5th and the car wouldn't slow down enough. And that could be because you're not going down enough gears. Obviously going down the gears helps with engine braking. Okay, let's try and push it deep into this corner. I am locked up and it's spinning on its own. Tried to power through it, but didn't quite work. Okay, I'm going to click restart session in case I've just damaged the car, and then I am going to edit the setup, but I need to go and get a drink, so I shall be back in 2 minutes. Right, I'm back, but the painkillers are starting to wear off. The toothache is kicking in again, so we're going to have to pop a couple more pills, which means I'm probably going to either pass out or it's going to give me another kick and I'll be even more awake. Okay, so going to make a slight change, but only to the gears. So I'll elongate first gear again, and second gear, not by much. I'm going to leave third, fourth, fifth and sixth for the time being. We'll see how they sound, stroke, react as we do this next lap. But we'll just see if the car is more stable in the braking zones and traction zones. Now I wouldn't expect this to help with to reduce lockups, but I would expect it to make the car more balanced in the braking zone, and also the potential to be more aggressive in the traction zones without getting too sideways. Obviously, I'm going to have to wait for the tyres to warm up again. Well, it'll be interesting for those of you that are watching the live stream from when I was in the Formula A, whether you've had the same problem I have, whether you've tried what I've tried, whether it's worked or not, or even whether you thought, I'm going to go and do that and see if it works for me. Well, if that's what you've done, let me know. Let me know if it works for you. I know it's worked for me. So now we're still locked up heading down into turn 1, and there was a tiny little wiggle, but it didn't throw me into a drift around the corner. Usually it doesn't throw you into a drift, it just spins you around. But it was a little bit of a wiggle instead of completely rearwards, sideways. Be much more aggressive on the throttle now. Yes, the back end's still kicking out, but a lot less, and it seems to be much easier to control the slide, still carrying the speed. And if this is the trick to some of these very awkward braking, tail happy cars, then this could make quite a few of the cars that are very difficult to drive in this game suddenly become very enjoyable. Now still a bit sideways in first gear there, and to be honest, I probably should be staying in second. A big slide on there, but easily controllable. Much more fun to drive. I was trying to initiate a drift then, and it didn't quite work. But the car is definitely much more drivable just from making one very small change.